really deals with that issue?
Well, the target time is a 1 minute 50.1 at the moment, offered up by Joe Osborne in the 888 BMW. You're looking at 84 Bentley. That's an M car by the German Motorsport team. Yes, the same HTP had so much success with Misano, now turning to a different brand for the and Harold not experience. Remember how well the Bentleys went here, the first outing for the cars, and Harold Primmer has switched from types to GT cars. Within GT racing, he's got a car over the years with the HTP Bentley.
And a very good car it is indeed, and expected to use Vincent Van April along with Maxi Book, and they had some issues, discovered a few issues with the rail. It was more of a step of the in the pedal box deep inside the car, so they've got that result, and they're for consistency and basically a lot more confidence from this car over so much the three itself.
So yes, the mighty Bentley powering over the road in the background. Racing McLaren, the orange McLaren, the new 650S, but the McLarens yesterday, John, really seemed to be struggling.
Yes, and again, Bruno Senna, Alvaro Parent had a little word with them. I said, you tell me, guys, why are, as we saw in the first session on Saturday morning, all the Ferraris in the top 16 cars in the straight line speed? And they went, well, work it out for yourself. In fact, in the second, Lamborghini qualifying, difficult to tell, but for sure the drive that most drivers with fresh tyres will get off Parabolica will pay dividends. As we look at the McLaren, Shane van Gisbergen coming all the way from Australia, hope he's got over his jet lag in this car, and high hopes for this well-liked and very competitive Australian driver.
Yeah, Shane van Gisbergen, one of the leading lights in V8 Supercars, and Jim Stone's team, to drive for Erebus. Has switched seats since, but coming into a whole new discipline really. He was at Spa last year, but didn't actually get to race the car in the 24 hours because it had retired before he got his backside in the seat. New venue for him, new car for him. He knows about double driver discipline because he has, of course, done endurance racing back home in the Australian V8 Supercar Championship, but there's an awful lot to learn in a short space of time here.
Yeah, and just to go back to the McLaren story, basically they're struggling on certain parts of the circuit, and those are the important parts of the circuit, in other words the straight bits. So first round of the Blancpain Endurance Series, pretty much everybody in the pit lanes having a moan about one element or other of this BOP, the thing we refer to, and it's the equalization of competitiveness across the range of brands of product that are racing here this weekend. They feel that they're sitting in the straight and being overtaken, and they're having difficulty in the amount of challenge. Say, for example, it might be quicker out of Parabolica as we see the car now. The 5-10 kilometers quicker. One of the other cars take advantage of that extra speed. In fact, they start losing out of the and
we talked about Audi R8 LMS Ultra, because Frank Stippler in the car that he shared with Nico Müller and Stefan Ortelli has got top, and the time is a 1:48.234 as you look at the BMWs there run by BMW Trophy Team Brazil. Two cars they have, and of course this is a team coming the Endurance Series, give a win Sprint Series 3 you're looking at. Fresh into the weekend, he came from Silverstone overnight and hasn't had any run. Presented his licence this morning, checked his overall crash helmet, said yes, Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron and Henry Hasid or Franck Pereira Dermot are in the same situation. We had 56 cars, we should hit the full 60 today. All the drivers here.
Just as a point of note, the quickest lap so far this weekend is a 1:7.6 set by, I think it was the Pierre Caffer Ferrari, and virtually within about 100th of a second
And I suspect that is because there might be some barrier damage that needs attending to, and there just isn't really the time to restart within 3.5 minutes, especially to proper lap time. So race director has to call for the flag.
I mean, the car did punch that barrier into the second pretty heavy. It just depends whether it has split the barrier or maybe just pushed. Just if there was a tower wall anywhere nearby, that needs to be reassembled, realigned. But a judgment has been made to red flag the session. So everybody will make their way back into the pit lane. There are further bits of the polystyrene that was, yeah, you can just see where the camera opens up.
An out lap out of 3.5 minutes, there would just about be time for one flying lap for those that got out first, maybe not even for those that went.
Benefits of going back out again. Some people might have reasons that they want to go back out and they would like to have that time available to them, but others may decide that within the 3 minutes and 35 seconds remaining, once the track goes green, then it's going to take them the best part of a minute and 50 seconds from the pit lane if you're on a quick lap to get around, so you will get that one flying lap in, but that's it. And you're
It's a learning curve for us. You know, we have everything to learn from the car, and especially on this kind of track. It's still slower than what we were expected, so we have to push to go a bit quicker. We know how quick the other cars they were, you know, yesterday, so it's good for us, but at the same time there is still a big gap, so it's good for Q1. We have to carry on and try to continue to improve the car.
One of the this car to the edge of what it can do this weekend? Will you be taking this car to the edge of what it can do to really show the power of the new Audi?
The power is there. I mean, some advantages are obviously less drag than the other car. So on
a red track, but there's no chance of that happening. And there is that number 2, the Generation 2 Audi. So, it looks quite strange in red. How much a colour can change the visual impact of a car. We spoke to the back of the WRT are these other coming down, white, red, black, and grey on it, so easier to pick it out. But we're so accustomed to seeing them in the WRT colours, predominantly that matte black.
Relatively few people have ventured back out. The pit lane is still very busy. The teams getting their Q2 drivers settled in the car. As you look at the Klaus Graf, Steph Dusseldorf, Nico Bastian, Rover Racing.
Opted to go back out again. Others that
The Porsche, Daniel Juncadella, Nicolas Silvestre, Mercedes.
where the SLS really its strengths would lie.
The flag is out. The
A very emotional and very popular victory in the main race in Nogaro with Maxime Martin and Dirk Muller.
yes, Fraga had to redeem himself. Nine fastest, Daniel Lloyd managed to get that car. So the cars now, John, make their way back to the pit lane, and then the That's the Pier Giuseppe Palazzoni Marco Ciocci car. Is on its way back. What's going on at the Nissan end of the pit lane? Was that a garage with the two teammate Mercedes lined up ready to go?
So I think they're just going to sit there, let this first bunch of cars that are in the fast lane, in the pit lane, to clear. And I would like to keep an eye
National GT Open Championship, so there's no shortage of mileage. As you look at the 18 Mercedes then coming up towards the timing line, how good a time is this going to be? Let's see. As towards the line the car now comes, and it across the timing line now, and with Jean-Carl Vernet shown behind the wheel of it, goes 6th with a 1:49.13. Conflicting information, Fabio Babini being indicated on one screen as being behind the wheel, and that would make more sense given the lap time, 1:49.109. Within the session, Vincent Abril's Bentley is now quickest, 1:49.027, but not as good as Schnippler went in Q1. But 84 is creeping into the equation now. As the Nissan 23, this is the All-Pro Cup car, turns its way through the Variante Ascari.
Nissan also had good straight line speed, and along with the twin-turbo V6 motor in that car, you know, that is a serious threat for a front 2 or front 3 rows of the grid start position. And we know how well this car in the hands of Alex Buncombe has run at Monza, and has led, in fact, up to, I think, the point where he handed over to some of his then pro-am or amateur teammates.
Wolfgang Reip at the wheel of the car and goes over the timing line. Goes second fastest overall, or the car rather is second fastest overall from that first session, but within Q2, not yet into the top 20.
Stefan Raquelme has done a good lap, 1:48.6, as Ortelli behind him on a 1:48.8, so those are the quickest times I think we're seeing so far in this phase of the second qualifying session, and that's now been eclipsed by car 84, and that's the Bentley. Vincent Abril, 1:48.671, 12 thousandths of a second quicker than Raquelme in the Audi. Close, absolutely. Very close.
And here's an interesting combination as the Lamborghini there, Fabio Babini tackles the 73 Nissan heading down towards the first chicane. That's the Martin Plowman, Craig Dolby, Sean Walkinshaw driven Nissan, and the Lamborghini scampers up the inside coming out of the chicane. Now towards the Curva Grande on the outside as we cut away to see number 1 Audi and a slow BMW in the background heading down towards the Parabolica. Number 1 Audi then turns through with Robin Frins at the wheel coming up towards the timing line. What he's got to beat in Q2 is a 48.6, a 48.0 is the ultimate best, and he goes across the timing line. And a 49.8 was that lap, so in traffic he lost out.
Yeah, and I mean, in this session he's only 10th quickest, I beg your pardon, 8th quickest in the number 1 Audi. This is the car that many people might think is the potential package, the winning package, with Jean-Carl Vernet, Robin Friens and Laurens van Thorn.
Well, you've got Van Thorn to drive it in Q3, and then expect fireworks, as up towards the line comes number 7 now, which is the leading Bentley. Goes over the timing line. Andy Merrick's at the wheel, but only 15th in Q2. Not even in the top 20 on the combined ranking at the moment, if you take Q1 and Q2 together. So within Q2, Wolfgang Reip has now gone fastest on a 1:48.4. And that is quicker than Katsumasa Chiyo did in the early part of qualifying. By 2/10. He's gone faster than the car went in Q1. Somebody's had a big drama at the Variante Ascari. Look, the marker boards are all over the road.
I mean, that is a mess. It'll blow away very quickly because the wind pressure from the cars going through, but it's just, suddenly you arrive and you see lots and lots of polystyrene on the racetrack, and there is in effect the effect of that, because everybody's backed up, checked up, and you can see still body or not polystyrene being carried halfway down that straight from the exit of the Ascari all the way down to the Parabolica.
99 goes to the pit lane, so it's still Wolfgang Reip the fastest. As I say, he's gone 2/10 quicker than Katsumasa Chiyo did. Abril Rochelmi Ortelli behind him, 2nd, 3rd and 4th within Q2. It's still Frank Stippler from Q1 with the gun time, as the BMWs of Barwell and Team Brazil effectively come out of the Variante Ascari. 4 more minutes of Q2 remain, so we are starting to see improvements, but not, strangely, anything to rival Frank Stippler's early best. So intriguing that. Stefan Ortelli has done a 1:48.8, Stippler did a 48.0. Ortelli might well be trying a different setup or stuck in traffic, or quite content to let Stippler be the hero. Over the line again comes 7 Bentley. Andy Merrick doing the duties in this. It's a 49.678 the best, a 49.7 that lap, so he goes a fraction slower and is 18th in Q2.
I think we're going to see a little bit of excitement in the final qualifying session, because that is going to be when, in most cases, the quickest of the driver partnerships will get behind the wheel. Track temperatures will be gradually rising, ambient will be gradually rising, and teams might take the option. Those teams that think they've got the chance to take a shot at pole position with a fresh set of Pirelli slicks.
Temperatures warming up a little bit as well as Andy Merrick presses on through the Lesmos. On board with him now.
Yeah, getting a lot of understeer as he came into Lesmo 1, and just we got cut back to the back into the onboard camera. Couldn't quite see just what degree of steering angle he had to crank on for Lesmo 2. Slightly less tight on the 2 corners, but nevertheless not much difference. As we see the Parker Audi, and just looking down to see where that stands. Yeah, just a hand.
No, I'm afraid it's a long way down at the moment, outside the top 20, which is what we're being shown on the screens for the purposes of this session, as the Bentley 7 heads down towards the Parabolica. Andy Merrick has done 2 personal bests in sectors on this lap, but can it all be strung together?
Well, he's got to improve upon a 49.678, and according to the first 2 sector times, and he's coming into the pits, he's not even bothering to finish the lap, so we got just coming up to 9.5 minutes of the session remaining. And we have another look at Andy Palmer. I think it's still Andy Palmer behind the wheel of the Team Grasser Racing Lamborghini Hurricane. Quite a different visual package over the Gallardo. Whether it is physically wider than the Gallardo or not, but because of the difference of the treatment to the air intakes in the front, it looks a wider car. And again at the back, very different rear styling, more swoopy, and of course with the rear wing, which doesn't come as part of the standard package when you go to your Lamborghini dealer to buy one. You might be able to get as an extra, but of course that then is all detailing it to try and get more downforce onto this car.
Now Fabio Babini in that Lamborghini, the fastest now, and up to second quickest within Q2, has gone 75, the ISR Audi, with Marco Bononomi at the wheel, another of the many Audi factory drivers. Michael Lyons, you got a glimpse of number 11 Ferrari. He's arrived overnight as well, having been racing yesterday in the UK. In the Kessel Racing Ferrari he is. Very quick driver, Michael Lyons, of modern-day GT cars, but also excels in the family stable of historic cars.
Just a shame he's too large, he's too tall.
Yeah.
He's about 6'13", I think it is. No, it's one of the problems of a young man who has got a lot of talent, a lot of ability, but is physically just too large for the modern generation of single-seaters.
Just gone second fastest within this session, Michael Lyons, a 1:47.484. And that's also now second overall, because Fabio Babini is the quickest, has gone quickest out of all of qualifying, a 47.275. Michael Lyons up to second, and Stippler's Q1 time drops him to third.
That certainly, I would say, Babini's time is a new tyre time.
Yeah.
We're suddenly seeing big jumps in terms of performance. That's not driver skill, that's just fact of life. You've got more grip with fresher, not necessarily new, but fresher rubber. Michael Lyons, very 47.484, 0.2 of a second down. And actually, I watched him as he came into the first chicane. He almost gave a Scandinavian flick as he came down. Instead of turning right, he gave it a little dink to the left, then a quick snap to the right to sometimes help if you're suffering a little bit of understeer. That can offset that characteristic by just doing the Scandinavian flick.
Well, the flag is out. This is the car that's third fastest, Marco Bononomi, in the ISR Audi. Michael Lyons, though, has done a great job, hasn't he, to get the Kessel car up there?
Yeah, and I mean, that's his best time. He's not doing anything in the intermediate or the sector times. And checkered flag is out, so he'll be coming back into the pits. And I think Michael will be very pleased indeed with his brief morning's work.
Yes.
So much for having, what, 2.5 or nearly 3 hours of practice over Saturday afternoon.
Yes, he does rock up Sunday morning and bang, do the time.
I like it. I mean, if you give people time, they will use the time. You know, if you've got 5 hours of broadcast time for a 30-minute race, you'll broadcast for 5 hours because you've got it available. And it's the same with practice time. If the time's available, people will run. But if you've only got a very short, brief period, it focuses you. And all the issues that you might find in that long period are issues you just get on with and get around.
And the teams have now got 6.5 minutes before Q3 starts. Still, of course, some have got to take the flag and then do an in-lap. Others abort the last lap and therefore get to the pit lane earlier. You've seen 55, the Attempto McLaren through, that 71 Mercedes of Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma. And that, I think, is going for the pits. It is. Vasiliev brings it down the pit road. Marco Asma should do driving duties in the final part of qualifying. And 34 also completes its session, ready to head to the pits. Pierre Eret and Alexander Matschel. Their regular third driver from last year, Frank Schmickler, has gone off to drive for a different team in a Porsche. So these drivers switch from Ferrari to Mercedes for this year and go to the Car Collection Motorsport team. So this is how Q2 looks, with the number 19 GRT Grassa Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan as the fastest from Kessel Racing, courtesy of Michael Lyons, chasing after Fabio Babini's time. Third, Marco Bononomi for ISR. Fourth, Wolfgang Reip for the Nissan GT Academy. Fifth was Vincent Abriel in the HTP Bentley. Sixth, number 3, Stefan Rochelmi, ahead of the Maxime Soulet, number 8 Bentley, showing its hand for the first time. Robin Frins was 8th, 9th, the Von Rahn McLaren in the hands of Rob Bell. To round out the top 10, Stefan Ortelli ahead of Sergio Jimenez, and then 12th fastest was the Sofrev, as was now ACA ASP Ferrari in the hands of Bobelik, Yak and Morgan Moulin Trafort. After that, Rover Racing's Mercedes ahead of the Phoenix Gen 2 Audi R8, if you like, the second generation of the R8 LMS Ultra, the car that Marcus Winkelhock is one of the drivers of and is a quick car. So this is now how it looks overall, with that time of Babini putting number 19 up to the overall top of the times, ahead of Michael Lyons, ahead of number 2 Frank Stippler, from Q1. And then after that, you've got Marco Bononomi's time putting in 4th. You've got Wolfgang Reip's time putting the Nissan 5th. So Frank Stippler's efforts in Q1, very noteworthy because it's kept that car up at the pointy end as opposed to it falling down to 10th, which is where Stefano Ortelli's time would have put it relative to the opposition. So you see how things can shuffle across the different aspects of qualifying. That is how the top 12 looks as we get ready for Q3. And this is when it's all going to come alive because it's going to get very, very busy out there indeed. So the teams have now got just under 4 minutes ready for the next part of qualifying to get underway. And that also will give us a chance to hear from another driver or two. Fabio Babini then is at the moment the fastest driver, and he is in the pits with OJ Borg.
And with Fabio Bambini fastest so far, how's the car feeling out there on the track?
Yeah, now is good job yesterday from the Grasser team. All together is the balance is step by step is good, very good upgrade. Now this morning was perfect, but just in the beginning was more traffic. But in the last I have 2 free laps. It's possible to take more the fast lap. I have a good idea to take the pole position for this second session, but it's against the third session. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that third session. We're in the period of calm right now. We're coming to that third session. Can this car go faster?
Yeah, Jerome have more potential. The fuel is go down. It's possible to have more performance, but I don't know. The big problem was the setup of the car because the hide-up is too much for the BOP, but it's a good job from the Grasser tonight.
Will you gamble, put fresh tyres on for this final session?
Yeah, yes. So all the tyres fresh is ready for pushing.
And just one question when it comes to the race later on. Is this a race, so many cars on track, where you need to be on pole position, you need to be at the front?
Yes, because at the beginning was very difficult to overtake another car. All the car having qualifying is not possible to take the direction out, but it's okay. It's lap by lap. I overtake. I have a 3-2. The last lap is possible to improve the time. Very good.
Fabio, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
I think we got answers that were different to the questions in some of those, in fairness, and I don't know, I'm not clear whether they're going to put new tyres on or not. I'm assuming they will do. But what is clear is that Fabio Babini's time is the fastest single lap over the 2 days of running that we've had by about 2.5 tenths of a second. And again, I would have referred to maybe slightly fresher tyres, but again, good work. But remember, this Lamborghini is one of the 2 quickest cars in a straight line. It's the sister car that is the slightly quicker of the 2. And that's a massive asset to have in your armory when you're going into a race, and particularly they've got a strong car that could have a pop at pole position. We don't know what Audi are going to do. They're going to have 3 cars, WRT, running. The car that got damaged, the number 4 car, I think, we have to wait and see whether that car will make it back out into qualifying or not. And then, of course, you've got the Generation 2 cars, which wouldn't expect to see challenging for pole position just yet, but you never know.
So we are a minute or so away from this final part of qualifying getting underway. Jeroen Mull will take over now, Fabio Babini's car. Jeroen, who was one of the leading lights last year in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, having moved from the Porsche Super Cup and acquitted himself very well. That's the Adrian Delina, Cedric Razzioli Ferrari that's been quick across the early part of the weekend. Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin's Ferrari 51, you can see there behind it. All of this fleet coming out of the AF Corsa garages. I think they've got at least 5 cars in the entry. Amato Ferrari's team is very busy.
It's like a car rental depot. Choose your colour, which Ferrari you want.
Same for Mercedes, almost at the head of the grid, isn't it? They're the Black Falcon twins ready to go out. 18 I should say, which is the Morley Engel Johnston car in the queue. And BMW lines up behind. Then you've got Nissan. This gives you an indication of the different brands that you have on the grid. We've seen plenty of Ferraris already. So we are just 15 seconds away. Time for the marshals to send one last text message, and then they'll be back on post as the green lights will go on at the end of the pit lane. Fast lane open, which means the cars can drive down to pit out. If you're WRT, you don't need to do that because you're virtually at pit out anyway.
Yes, and that will come into play unquestionably during the course of the race as the field makes its way, and this is the last 15-minute session, and this is going to be a busy session, but also I hope will prove to be the session that establishes the fastest lap we've seen all weekend to date.
So Q3 underway. It's a great shot of the cars pouring down the pit lane as the drivers get ready, bide their time, and when the team gives the indication, then the cars will be released by the controller down from the pit box. So at the moment, the time to beat is a 1:47.275. WRT having to worry about cars in this session, but also to rebuild number 4 after its crash in Q1. And still they come, and still they come, out they pour.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, on a racetrack like Monza, which is not the largest racetrack, it's large by most modern circuit standards, but not the longest, and they're just coming and coming and coming. And we still have wait to see the Audis at the head of the pit lane. Their 4 cars or 3 cars are sitting outside the garage in echelon, as is, I think, in fact, both Bentleys are also as well. They're just waiting. There's no point, in their opinion, and I would agree with them, to rush out at the very opening of the lap. You're going to get the difficulty of how do you trip or how do you find your way over, around, or even under so many cars on track. Let them go out, complete their flying laps. You still will have the best part of 10 minutes remaining, and then hopefully when the track is a little bit calmer, well, the Audis, in fact, as we speak, are all now leaving the pit lane and getting on to track. So they've waited until everybody's just about coming up to the completion. There we see them coming down into Parabolica, so they're 90% of the lap complete. So the Audis and the Bentleys are tagging onto the rear, and hopefully will have a clean run once they get onto their flying lap.
The most vigorous weaving to get temperature into tyres we've seen all day. 333 Ferrari goes through, which is Norbert Siedler driving in this session, and he was quick yesterday. He also, though, had one rather slow lap, and he was tagged by the 23 Nissan. It was just a racing incident, but he was having one rather slow lap, and out of nowhere, so quickly was Alex Buncombe going that he just got the back of the car tagged, and he was tapped into a half spin. But Siedler now, unfortunately for him, finds himself in the next wave of cars leaving the pit lane, so we'll see what he can do. He was quick in the free practice session. What can he do in qualifying?
Well, I mean, when he came out of Parabolica, he thought, you know, great, nobody directly in front of me. Oops! As cars actually
Yes.
filter out of the pit lane, so all his positive thoughts have gone, oh, well, maybe it's not so easy. We saw the Bentley behind Siedler flashing its lights. So there is the Bentley. It's got the Ferrari now between it, so this is the frustration. Fastest sector time, having said all that, first sector to the Ferrari 333.
He's going to have to go somewhere to get that car right up to the top, but certainly Norbert Siedler is a capable driver. He specialised in Porsches over the last few years, both in the Super Cup and the Carrera Cup Deutschland, but he's on the back of the Bentley there as he heads then now down towards the Variante Ascari, heading under the bridge.
I can't really think the Bentley's going to be too bothered by that, to be honest. Your little Ferrari under your rear wing flashing your lights. If you're driving a Bentley, you're going to say, oh, he's got fastest second sector time as well. So he will be really, really upset. Yeah. He's alongside now on the exit of the Ascari, so he had that little bit of extra momentum. The Bentley's let him go, and this could be a new fastest lap of the weekend for Siedler in this very competitive Ferrari 348.
Craig Dolby has just done the best in Q3, a 48.6. Remember, a 47.2 is the target. Here comes Norbert Siedler then. First question is, where does he blend in at the end of this lap in the session, and then where does that put him for the aggregate of qualifying? A 48.0 puts him 4th overall and fastest thus far in Q3. So it's a good first effort, but it's not good enough to get pole position.
So he's done some of the hard yards. Needs now to get another clean lap. Oh, have we lost picture there, or was that just a... Anyway, look at the traffic coming out of the second chicane. The Nissan pulls over to the right to let it all filter through. And is that the number 1 Audi coming out? I think it was. Indeed it is. So the number 1 Audi on a lap. Again, with the same problem, one of his teammates just ahead. Coming into the third of the chicanes here, the Ascari chicane. Personal best, but this is the first flying lap of this car, so understandably it'll be personal best in each sector.
44 Aston ahead, which I would imagine now will have Johnny Adam at the wheel of it, as there is number 1. It's confusing because it's got the 0 on the bodywork, but the actual race number is 1. the 0 or the 0, the O coming out of its sponsor. Here comes the number 1 Audi up towards the timing line then, Laurens Vanthoor, to see what he can do. And as Nico Müller has put Audi number 2 up to second fastest in this part of qualifying, Vanthoor goes second in Q3 on a 47.7, and that's good enough for 4th overall now. How's Norbert Siedler getting on? He's done an absolute best and a personal best, so it's looking good.
Yep, but he's down 5th place in this session, 48.0. Coming into the pit lane, and he's going to give up that personal best in that first sector, which is a brave decision to make. We've just got 9 minutes and 50 odd seconds.
As Pierre Caffer's Ferrari, that was a car that was quick yesterday also, like Siedler. He was topping the times in free practice and pre-qualifying. He's gone fastest of all in Q3, Pierre Caffer, on a 1:47.551. And that's good enough for 3rd overall. So Pierre Caffer's going to be up near the pointy end of the grid for sure.
Another Ferrari, number 17, Insight Racing from Denmark. Martin Jansen gone second quickest. And looking at car 51, Duncan, Cameron, Matt Griffin. So Matt Griffin again, just proving, as we saw with Michael Lyons, you don't need too much track time to be on performance, but it's 66 right now. The Caffer Ferrari, fastest sectors, 1st and 2nd, and this should again get close to that time that we saw from Frank Stippler.
Pierre Caffer's done 2 absolute bests. He comes then, whoops, in traffic, tucked up behind the bright yellow Mercedes, the Ben Schneider car, heading up towards the timing line now. Pierre Caffer comes through. Was he balked in the traffic? It was a 1:47.022. It was still a better lap time, and that's good enough for pole position, a 47.022. It wasn't an absolute best in the 3rd sector, but 74 is off the road, and with lots of front damage, that car is going no further in this session. Fabio Onidi at the wheel of it, and Onidi has headbutted the barrier big time, and I fear for this session.
Red flag. Session is halted, so it's going to be a tow truck to remove this car. Onidi inside, you can see waving. I don't think he probably appreciates just how much damage there is to the front of the car, on top of which he is embedded in the gravel. So that car will need a snatch vehicle to come and remove it, with 7.5 minutes of the session remaining. So a lot of heavy damage again, mainly around the front, but principally around the left front. That's bodywork, radiators and suspension. And the snappers, and these are the amateurs, these are the race fans, want to get a bit of that. So a lot of work for Audi, not just the WRT team, but the support team. The old customer spares division is going to be doing business here. I think there it is, the nose of the car, and that's in the Ascari chicane. How he got wrong there, he's really hit that a good old whack.
Look at the witness marks on the green paint.
That's a substantial impact. If you're going to do it there, do it properly, and that's a proper job.
I think Fabio Onidi is probably a bit winded by all of that as well, because it would have been a big hit in that car that he shares with Anders Fjordbach and Andrea Roda. And we've got track sweeping devices heading out onto the circuit. We've got the cars heading back to the pit lane. So what do we have left? 7.5 minutes, just about on halfway.
Yep. Everybody will be back in the pit lane, and when they return to the track, it'll be the last opportunity. Track might be a little bit dirty up at the Ascari chicane. We're seeing a circuit vehicle, which is actually a tractor with a massive blowing fan on the back of it. It's now making its way towards the access roads within the Monza Park.
A young fan there dreaming about his first Alfa Romeo, as Pierre Caffer brings the Ferrari back to the pits.
I saw one of those new little mid-engine Alphas, the 4C, coming in this morning.
Oh, right.
Very pretty indeed.
Well, naturally, but yes.
Very pretty. Yes. As Alphas are coming back to the styling cues that made them so famous, particularly in the 50s, with the wonderful Giulias and Giuliettas and...
So with the red flag out, everybody heading for the pit lane, and the teams are going to have a little bit of work to do in one or two cases. If you've got a slight problem, if you need to do a bit of a tweak, you've got that time given to you now, rather than it eating into the session.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's a forced break for everybody, and they can make little adjustments if they feel those are necessary. In some cases, it'll be a frustration because they might have been in preparation to start a flying lap on maybe something equating to fresh tires or new tires, and some will bemoan the incident up at the third chicane, some will think, oh, that was a bit timely. We can get into the pits, make an adjustment, get back out again, and, you know, happy days.
Yeah. So, at the moment, the grid, never mind Q3, but the grid is Pierre Caffer's Ferrari 66 ahead of 19 Lamborghini Fabio Babini, and Fabio Arnidi was, as I say, a bit shaken in that. The medical team need to just go make sure he's all right.
Yes, he's going to get attention, and as we see, this is the barrier actually down at the second chicane that's getting attention, which is the point at which the number 4 Audi attacked it in the first of the 3 qualifying sessions. So that's getting the opportunity to be, that's brought back into line with the rest of the barriers. It was pushed back beyond the point of its natural shape, and of course there will be work being carried out up at the Ascari chicane, the third of the 3 chicanes, a proper chicane, the best chicane, I would say, of any racetrack anywhere in the world. If you're going to have a chicane, that's the one to copy.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things we talked about at the end of yesterday's pre-qualifying was how trouble-free a day it had been, but I'm afraid to say that now it's gone the other way, with quite a few teams with damage to sort out, and of course not very much time in which to do it, because the race itself will start at 2:30 local time. We're at 10 o'clock local time now, and of course the cars go to the grid a good half an hour in advance of that, so if you've got a damaged car to repair, you're running out of time.
Yes, and Indy's car looks like it's got a lot of damage to the left front, and that might be a problem to get that car in a race condition. Remember, it'll have to be reassessed by the technicians here before it'll be allowed to take part, and obviously they wouldn't put a car out on the track that wasn't to the satisfactory level. These cars are extremely well maintained, very sophisticated in their technologies, so it's got to be right.
Number 1 Audi is there ready to go at pit out, and as that camera just widens the shot, you can see what we've been talking about how much extra room you've got by being at pit out, because look to the right of the number 1 Audi, you can see where the barrier starts and the pit lane exit becomes, and so you've got that little bit of extra room, and that's absolutely crucial when you get a busy pit lane during the race.
It's always nice, I feel, to be at the end of a pit lane, because the run from your pit box to the line that demarcates the end of the pit lane and then the racetrack, although you've got to trundle down the pit lane at a 50-kilometer speed limit, it's, if you're in the middle, it's the slowing down, getting back up to 50 kilometers, whereas Audi and Bentley have only got a very short run there, and there always seems to be the pole position, if you wish, within the pit lane.
So that's the barrier, as John has made the point, that was hit by the WRT Audi earlier on. The church bells ringing in the background as the engine noise goes quiet for the moment. But Fabio Arnidi, having extricated himself from his Audi, just being checked over by the Monza medical team, and he will go to the medical centre, because inevitably these days, large accident or small, the medical team wants to check a driver over.
Yeah, quite often what happens is you get rattled around within the cockpit if there's a big impact, and there's a substantial tubular roll bar construction, and arms, knees, legs. When you have a violent jolt, as you would do, hitting the barriers, it's a quick part of the section of the circuit there, just your bits, it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why old men and old women should watch motor racing, not compete, because when you get old, it hurts a lot more.
Well, the good news is that Fabio Arnidi is out of the car, but clearly a bit shaken, and the medical team doing an excellent job to make sure that he's looked after. And as soon as he's okay and out of the chicane and the car is removed, we can go back to qualifying once more. And the beautiful Monza Park is home not just to racing, but also to the locals out for a morning cycle. It's a beautiful place, Monza. If you've never been, first of all, why not? Secondly, when are you coming? But if you come here and you're not captivated by the place and cars, then you've got no soul.
I mean, for me, it's just all about passion.
Yeah.
Monza spell it Passion. That's the place. History in every centimetre of the tarmac, even though it's been re-tarmacked on many, many occasions, but it just ekes out emotion, and motorsport to me, that's the fundamental essence.
And you still have here the old Monza banking from the Monza-Napoli race, which is another feature, and you can stand on that. You think, how on earth did people drive on this? Because it is ludicrously steep. There it is. That's coming through the back end of the circuit.
It's not the angle of the banking. It was incredibly uneven, bumpy, and even in period in the 50s when this was used, and I think it was even used up to as late as the middle 60s when they had the 1,000 kilometers of Monza for what was then the Ferraris and Porsches and whatever of the day, the Matras. They used that in conjunction with the road circuit.
It's the race of the two worlds, this Monza-Napoli field. So you're going down the pit lane, having a look at Ferraris. Then you get to Mercedes with the Rover racing cars. The Works Nissans there from the Bob Neville team. The Pro Car 23, the Pro-Am is 22. There are the Lamborghini Huracans in the distinctive green colour scheme. And then you get to Amato Ferrari's dealership almost, because he's got his whole fleet of Ferraris out of AF Corsa.
Yeah, and just to button every available colour on the,
yes, that's right.
on the spec list.
Keep going. All these are AF Corsa. And now you get to Parker Racing's Audi.
And actually a very good colour, because that is at least one of the identifiable Audis, especially in a head-on shot.
Yeah. So past Rinaldi, past Team Brazil. Then you get to the Russian Mercedes and keep going. More Mercedes down here, all run by different teams. Then you get to BMW. Number 12 wasn't here yesterday because its drivers were at Silverstone. 73 is the Dolby Walkinshaw Plowman Nissan. 32, Michael Meadows, the gun in that car. 78, Johnny Cocker. 79, the Acuria Cos BMW. More Z4s there as you go past the classic and modern racing. Then you get to Von Ryan with the new McLarens. Kessel Racing's Ferraris, 11 and 111. Steve Earle, one of the drivers in 111 from the AM competition. Tempto Racing with its two McLarens, and it's virtually sponsored as Porsche. It's
magnificent.
Absolutely. The AM class Porsche next to it. Dragon Speed's Ferrari, the surviving ISR Audi there, 75.
And that's a competitive car, that 75.
It is indeed. Then you get to Jerome Policon's team, now ACA ASP by name. You get to Black Falcon with the Mercedes, one on the ground, one up on the jacks. Then you get to the HTP Bentley. 888's BMW is next. Next to that is the Boussin-Gignon BMW. There's Phoenix Racing's new R8 LMS Ultra, the two Works Bentleys, and last but by no means least, you get down to the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT at the far end of the pit lane. And just in case you missed anybody, let's do a U-turn and take you back up again to the top end of the pit lane. So you can start with number 1 with Lawrence Vantor at the wheel of it. There's number 2 with Nico Müller at the wheel of it. There's car number 3, which is the Stefan Rochelmi car. And then you get to the two Works Bentleys. 7 is the gun, although at the moment, actually, 8 has been doing better lap times.
But when you get past that Audi, from here on down, the pit lane is just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because look, the teams are using what would be the normal garage would be wide enough for two cars. They're segmented, one garage segmented into two, so you've got half the space, and you've got to try and bring your car in, turn in, and straighten the car up to enable the fueling and the tyre changes to take place. If your car's not straight, then you've got to get the team to push it forwards, backwards, whatever. I mean, here in particular, this is going to be a nightmare for everybody.
Barwell that runs those two BMWs have got a bit of space because they've got two cars. Two-car team there. Look with the Mercedes. 2 cars at Team Brazil, which helps. Black and green, 2 cars at Rinaldi. Single car at Motorbase, but they're neighbours. Team Parker Racing, they're all good mates, so that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
As you made the point earlier, you need good relations with your neighbours.
Yes, I mean, this is an endurance event, but it's a 3-hour sprint event in reality. And we always refer to the fact that a second last in the pit lane, particularly with such a large field, is a second hard gained.
That's the other benefit. If you're at pit in, you've got a bit more space as you drive in. That's where Santalok is based. That's the Georges Cabin, Jean-Claude Baffin, Marc Sourde car. But pit out is where everybody wants to be, and Vincent Voss and his merry men have got the box seat. The session is going to restart in 47 seconds time, and we'll do so for the remaining 7.5 minutes. But it's going to take a lap or two at least, isn't it, to get tyres back up to temperature and indeed to even think about clear track space again.
Yeah, I mean, again, it'll depend just whether people opt to go out for one flying lap and just take their chances, or they're going to go out at the very beginning and try and get a good solid out lap, get as much tyre temperature, and then just use the remaining 7.5 minutes and stay out and just hope that traffic isn't too bad at the point where you're on your quick lap. But that's wishing and hoping, and I don't think there's much prospect of that, because I suspect the entire field is about to return to the track at the point when it goes green.
There's still people with a lap time to ring out of the car. We go green, 7.5 minutes then, and although it's gone green, it took a few seconds for the marshal at the end of the pit lane to release the first car, which is the number 6 Audi, which absolutely pounds away. Marcus Winkelhock at the wheel. Marcus, former GT1 world champion, one-time Grand Prix racer and indeed race leader. And these days the mentor to the new influx of people taking part in the new for 2015 Audi TT Cup that kicks off next month. But a very experienced driver is Marcus Winkelhock. Denied his...
It's not quite as frenetic as it was at the start of this session. Maybe a few people just being a little bit more measured in when they're going to go out, but still a fairly busy pit lane. Some cars still slow on the pit lane exit down to the first chicane, sort of causing a little bit of a log jam. Again, Audi at the head of the pit lane waiting for the bulk of the field to pass by before they then send their 3 remaining WRT cars out. Both Bentleys have gone, and I think the Audis are going to be the last cars to rejoin the track.
I think you're right. Triple Eight hanging on to its BMW just for a moment as well. But while all these cars are pouring out, look, that's taken about a minute and a half, because even as cars trip out of the pit lane, we're going to hit the 6 minutes to go mark now. So 90 seconds it's taken for not the whole field to come out of the pit lane. Meanwhile, on track, Marcus Winkelhock pounds on. He's got the Karim-Auger Oliver Goetz BMW behind him, the Busson-Gignon team car. The Curie-Cos send out the first Barwell BMW. The Team Russia car is behind there, the green and black one. And then you've got the WRT Audis behind. So here comes Marcus Winkelhock through the parabolica. And he will cross the timing line with about 5 minutes and 25 seconds of the session to go. So from 7.5 minutes when we went green, you haven't got that much time to actually get the laps in.
No, but he's got, for the moment, a clear run down into the first chicane.
Yeah.
There is the tail end of the traffic that just left the pit lane. So he's going to basically catch up, I would imagine, unless there's good radio communications between the remaining Audis 1, 2 and 3, to say that Audi number 6 Winkelhock is on a flying lap. Don't impede his lap.
This car run by Phoenix Racing, Ernst Moser's team, which is one of the top Audi teams from the DTM. It's also been successful in winning the Spa 24 Hours, if you remember, and also the Nordschleife for the Nürburgring 24 Hours. So it's a team that can split its time successfully. There is Ernst Moser in the spectacles between sprint and endurance racing. It's based just a stone's throw from the Nürburgring circuit, the team. And here it comes, the number 6 Audi, the new style R8 LMS Ultra.
Watching Marcus Winkelhock coming through second chicane didn't look like it was what I would describe as on it. Like slightly cautious entering and changing direction. But that might just have been an optical illusion. We wait to see what the time is.
Porsche through just ahead, the Attempto racing car. Here is Winkelhock. How's he doing in the sectors? He's not really yet.
No,
neither of them are sparkling.
I think that's what I picked up.
Yeah.
At the pace of the car going through the second chicane, it didn't look like what I would call a Marcus Winkelhock committed lap. And just trying to find track position, which he's now done. This is going to be, I think, the point where he will use all his experience in these cars, and also with this new car, which is really more of a learning process. So nothing in terms of sector times that would focus anybody's attention. Personal best in that last sector, which is the best place to start your flying lap from.
It's all smiles at Phoenix. Marcus Winkelhock is certainly pressing on. He's now 20th in this session. We've had an improvement from 84, Mike Parisi in the Bentley. Here's 333 Norbert Siedler, who is only 11th in Q3 and therefore 13th on the grid. Flattering to deceive, really. I think more was expected out of Norbert Siedler. Into the Parabolica he comes. He's going to get 2 more laps out of the session in the Rinaldi Racing Run car. Pierre Caffer is still the fastest for pole position, 1:47.022. And Norbert Siedler does a 47.203. That puts him second on the grid.
I mean, it didn't look a stunning lap, but the times were there. So that's, you know, a solid lap for the Ferrari. So Ferrari's dominating the provisional front row of the grid.
41 there, the Sport Garage car. That's the Enzo Gilbert, Gilles Vanellet, Arno Santamato Ferrari having a wayward moment and getting a little bit squirrely under braking for the Parabolica. Here is 52, the Spreazioli Delina car. Cedric Spreazioli, the Monegasque at the wheel as he comes up towards the timing line. This is a Pro-Am class car and it's done remarkably well thus far this weekend. Spreazioli goes across the timing line.
Lamborghini joined the second row of the grid with Jerome Moule doing a 1:47.553 in this session. Of course, you have to keep remembering the times done from the first session. But in this session, the Lamborghini currently third quickest.
We've got just under 2 minutes as number 1 goes through. Laurens Vanthoor does a 47.7 on that lap, and that's good enough for 7th on the grid now. He's got number 2 behind. Frank Stippler did the earlier time, and the car has gone quicker since because now Nico Müller has gone faster in number 2. Norbert Siedler has done an absolute best in sector 2 and a personal best in sector 1. Purple is absolute and green is a personal best, and the traffic ahead, he's not going to impede him, I wouldn't have thought.
No, he's got a good run down into Parabolica. He might just pick up a little bit of the slipstream from the BMW on the exit and the run to the checkered flag, but the checkered flag's quite early in the start-finish straight here at Monza, but nonetheless looks like a time that will see him potentially take provisional pole. He needs to find 0.2 of a second. It's a lot of time to find, but is it good enough? Look at that. 1:46.571.
Pole position.
Almost half a second ahead. He found a chunk of time in that last sector.
Excellent job. It's a shame for both him and Pierre Caffer that they're Pro-Am cars because they're inevitably going to go backwards during the race. Number 19, though, Jeroen Mul, having taken over from Fabio Babini, comes up towards the timing line. Jeroen Mul goes through, and that lap was a slower one. It was a 47.7. The car is still third on the grid. Well placed. How the Audi's doing, 1 from 2 as they come towards us. And on this lap, Laurens Vanthoor has done no better in the sectors. 66 Pierre Caffer, meantime, lost out in sector 1, personal best in sector 2. If his third sector is really good, it might just piece together for him, but I think, no, he runs too wide there, doesn't he, coming out of the Parabolica?
Yeah, Michael Meadows also in car 32, the Aston Martin, up to third place in a 47.4, so a little bit of British interest.
Yeah.
That car, strong run.
Yeah, Michael Meadows third in Q3, 5th on the grid. You saw Fabio Babini looking on as the flag is now out. As the Martin Jensen driven Ferrari that's 5th in Q3 and 7th on the grid. I think that's his best ever qualifying. Tremendous effort by Martin Jensen.
Yeah, just a little message flashing up. Car 1 must respect track limits. Lawrence, you're being observed. Damage. That damage. No, it's not just something I thought. Just that damage to the front of the Ferrari. It's just the paint scheme, the way it splits up over the side of the boot lid, bonnet lid of the car.
So these drivers making their way to take the flag to end their session. There is the checkered flag. Some still going for it. Others will have bought the lap, I think. 17 Martin Jensen did a personal best in the middle sector. And is he going to complete the lap or is he going to go to the pit lane? Comes out of the Parabolica, he aims for the timing line, and so number 17 as he goes through loses out to the Mercedes. If he lifted, and he did lift like that, you wonder why bother to finish the lap.
Well, he might have decided I was going to go into the pits and then realised there's a car coming very quickly, and so he slightly got compromised. Just maybe a poor decision as to whether he was coming or not into the pits.
So there's Pierre Caffer, who's lost out on his pole position time, and on this lap nothing happening in the sectors. We've had an improvement, 4th in Q3, 6th on the grid from the yellow Ferrari of Cedric Spreazioli, which has been one of the real revelations of the weekend. Every time you look, the car is going far quicker than you anticipate that it would have done. So Pierre Caffer bails, he comes into the pit lane, and that is his qualifying session done.
Sort of a bit of an anticlimax in reality. It didn't quite become the qualifying session that one would have hoped for, but I suspect with such a number of cars on the racetrack and you're finding your clear lap, and ultimately I would imagine most teams doing every possible thing they can to get the best time out of the tyres they've been using, rather than reverting to a new set of tyres simply for the honour of having pole position. Those tyres are going to be used to good effect, and that was the opinion of Bernd Schneider, that would be, in his opinion, car 70, the car he shares with Alexei Karachev, that would be the way for them to move forward.
Car 77 has got one of its lap times under investigation. 77 is the BMW Sports Team Trophy Brazil of Valdino Brito, Atelier Abreu and Riccardo Sperafico. It's not a car, I'm afraid, that's been really troubling us for pole position, but I wonder what it has done, possibly not observing yellow flags or exceeding track limits. So Norbert Siedler will go into the opening round of the Blancpain Endurance Series on pole position from Pierre Caffer, and Fabio Babini third on the grid, Michael Lyons fourth on the grid, Michael Meadows fifth on the grid, Cedric Spiazzioli sixth, Martin Jensen seventh, and then Matt Griffin eighth, Lawrence Vantour ninth, and 10th Stephen Kane. So in other words, it's going to be two Ferraris, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Audi, Bentley at the top. This is how we look at the end of Q3 then, with the Rinaldi Racing cars topping the times. The green of Norbert Siedler ahead of the Black Pearl Racing entry of Pierre Caffer. Third is Fabio Babini for the GRT Grassa Racing team, ahead of Michael Lyons doing the time for Kessel Racing and Michael Meadows for Stuart Leonard's team. Then AF Corsa with Cedric Spiazzioli ahead of the Insight Racing Martin Jensen driven Ferrari, Matt Griffin 8th with Duncan Cameron, Lawrence Vantour's Audi is 9th ahead of Stephen Kane, and then Mike Parisi doing the time at the very end in 84 Bentley ahead of number 23, the Wright Buncombe Chio Nissan GTR. After that, the ACA ASP number 10 Ferrari ending up 13th ahead of the new R8 LMS Ultra Audi run by WRT, with Nico Müller improving in that final part of qualifying ahead of the older style car number 3. The better of the Rover Racing Mercedes comes next, the two of them together ahead of Marcus Winkelhock 18th in the Phoenix car, and 75, which ultimately was the surviving ISR Audi 19th ahead of the Oman Racing team, Aston Martin Johnny Adam doing the time for 20th on the grid. Just looking lower down the order, you get to 78, which is the Team Russia by Barwell BMW Z4. 29th, other BMWs, the TDS racing car a bit further down, Curia Cost 37th, but how about this for a qualifying classification that just keeps on going to get to the maximum number of cars, and eventually 58 is where we settle. It's going to be an amazing start to the race, and the man at the front of it all is Norbert Siedler, the pole position man with OJ Borg.
Norbert, a fantastic performance there to put yourself on pole. I take it the car's feeling great.
Yeah, definitely. The Team Rinaldi did a great job over the whole weekend. The car was really good in qualifying. In the first lap I had a lot of traffic, so I was, I think, on P10, but I knew that I can do much faster, so second lap I improved, and yeah, on pole position it's nice to be here on pole, and now we have to concentrate on a good race.
Well, let's talk about the race. Who's going to start in the car? Is it going to be you?
No, I'm not starting. Rinaldi is starting, and it's good for him to fight with the bros in the front, and hopefully I will get a good chance in the second stint, and the third stint is again for Rinaldi.
So obviously you're going to be sat on pole. Do you think winning this race is a possibility?
We have to concentrate on winning in the Pro Series, the Pro Cup, because in the amateur, we have to win in the amateur club, because in the Pro we have no chance, because there are at least 3 good drivers, and yeah, but we are concentrating, we have a good car, and hopefully we are on the podium. And just talk me through what it's like driving around this famous circuit here at Monza. Yes, I love it to be here. It's just, actually it's my home track, it's just 4 hours from my home in Austria. I like it here, it's really nice, and yeah, concentrate on the race and do a good job. All the team did a great job this weekend. Already in Nogaro we had a good car, and yeah, we were P4 and P5 in Nogaro. It doesn't suit the Ferrari so well, but yeah, we are concentrating on this race, and hopefully we are on the top at the end. Onwards and upwards, congratulations. Thank you.
Let's have a look at the highlights of qualifying then here at Monza. Q1, of course, was the quieter session for some, not for everybody, as the cars headed out onto the circuit, and there was drama for the WRT team early on. But for some drivers, it was a chance just to get some more mileage in. It wasn't necessarily the session in which the times would be set. Did give you the great mix of cars then, and the Bentley's starting to make good until Max Cobalt brought out a red flag as he rattled the car with 3 minutes to go up against the barrier and did damage to the guardrail and to the front left corner of the Gulf-backed Team WRT Audi. That is being repaired. It was our first of 2 red flags of qualifying. The session interrupted while the car was hoiked out of the way. When the session restarted, there was time really for just 1 flying lap, and the 74 Audi was one of the first cars out to try and improve a time. Ultimately, though, that would end up with damage as well, because in Q3, Fabio Anidi put that into the barriers pretty spectacularly. The Lamborghini Huracan was looking quick in the hands of Fabio Babini. 23 was looking quick no matter who drove it. And as the Team Russia BMW ran a little bit wide and kicked up the gravel, that car was negotiated. Wolfgang Reip, Katsumasa Chio and Alex Buncombe pounding on to try and get the car as high up the grid as possible. With polystyrene markers lying in the road at the Variante Ascari, that was a 1-lap drama for people to swerve through the mess. In the pit lane, data was studied. Action on track was still very close as people had to fight for track position. 74 eventually off the road with damage, and that car going no further. It brought out the red flag to interrupt qualifying. People had a few minutes to sit in the pit lane and regroup, but then when the session got underway, there were a few final improvements right at the very end. But Norbert Siedler and Pierre Caffer in the 2 Rinaldi Racing Ferraris getting themselves up to the pointy end of the times. So we have then the green Ferrari in the hands of Norbert Siedler on pole position. Race will start here at 2:30 local time. Join us for that, but for now, it's bye-bye.